Yo, fantasy community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TT FPL Pro-League, episode 14. And it was a glorious week for my boys in Sky Blue, getting the big dub in the Manchester Derby. You know, we've come a long way from being called the Noisy Neighbours versus the Red Devils. Now it's Manchester is officially blue. So congratulations to my boys. And the GGMU, glory, not so much. I seen Rashford went to a party last night, well, after the derby, and a lot more drama in the red side of Manchester's locker room. So I wish all those boys good luck, and we'll beat you all again in the second half of the season. So moving on to things now, you know, every week we dedicated to bring you all the content, the reviews, previews, those picks you all love to see in the Proper Things segment, the hot take, and of course the race for the 10k. We also have the reveal of the October 2023 Manager of the Month, so stay locked on to that. I promise that this episode is going to be entertaining because we have a new leader in the race for the 10k as well. So all will be revealed in this episode. And without further ado, let's kick things off with the review of Game Week 10. This week's games kicked off on the Friday afternoon with a London derby between Spurs and Crystal Palace. Spurs walking away with the 3 points with a 2-1 victory, but a late Crystal Palace goal wiped out the pending Romero, Pedro Porro and Vicario clean sheets. So all those owners of those assets should feel hard done as the goal looked like it should not have stood. So again, Spurs 2-1 there. Chelsea suffered another defeat to the Honeybees of Brentford, 2-0, and Bueno starring out in that one. Arsenal pumped Sheffield for 5 and walked away with the 3 points, 5-0 in that one. Bournemouth squeezed past Burnley 2-1 in their encounter. Wolves and Newcastle played out a 2-2 draw. Unfortunate for Trippier owners, a big old goose egg, a Gussie, for the Newcastle defense in that one, and a big injury to Neto should rule him out for a couple game weeks, so a big blow there for Neto owners as Sheffield is on the horizon next game week. West Ham surprisingly went down to the Toffees of Everton 1-0. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with the winner there. Aston Villa continued their hot streak with a comfortable 3-1 victory over Luton. I know that the cash owners would rejoice in that one with him coming off just before Luton scored, so the clean sheet was banked. Brighton could not get right versus Fulham as they could only muster a draw 1-1 in that one. Liverpool pumped Nottingham Forest 3-0. Salah again scoring, continuing his dominant performances this season. And finally, in the Manchester Derby, it was just a kickabout for the boys in Sky Blue as they comfortably defeated the Red Devils 3-0. And I was just happy about that result as could finally stop calling this a derby as it has been a whipping for the last few encounters. So congratulations to my boys again. And that has been the review of Game Week 10. Now with the review in our review mirror, we move to the preview of Game Week 11. Here in the preview for Game Week 11, you know, we call this segment the Goat Mouth segment. So Manchester United kicked things off on the Saturday morning, an early kickoff for them versus Fulham. I expect them to get 3 points in this one and narrow 2-1 win for Manchester United. Brentford and West Ham, I believe, will play out a 1-1 draw, as well as Crystal Palace and Burnley playing out a 0-0 draw in that one. I think the Seagulls will get right versus Everton and scrape at 3 points in a close encounter, 2-1. I think my boys, Sky Blue Manchester City, pump the Cherries of Bournemouth 4-0 in the midday encounter. I think Sheffield go down to Wolves 1-0, a late winner for the Wolverhampton Wanderers in that one. I think Newcastle edge past Arsenal 2-1, as that one will be played in Newcastle, and I think they take advantage of the home field advantage at St. James Park. So 2-1 there to Newcastle. Aston Villa continue their hot streak as they roll past Nottingham Forest 3-0. And Liverpool also win 4-0 in the final encounter on the Sunday. And this next upcoming Monday, we have a big London derby, the Lily Whites of Spurs versus the Blues of Chelsea. I believe Spurs exercise demons of the past and win this encounter 2-0 versus their London rivals. So more pressure there on Pochettino and Chelsea. And that was your preview or your goat mouth predictions for Game Week 11. And now with the goat mouth predictions completed, we move to the proper thing segment. I know this is the segment that most of our viewers stay locked into. This is where we give you all the picks that should be in your team now and going forward. In the proper things segment, the needle movers for the aggressive players looking to rise their rank immediately. Spilt milk segment for those assets that have gone funky, and the wondering pick segment for the players that you should keep a keen eye on. You know, this is my forte here because the picks have been picking, as they say, the last few weeks. So let's kick things off with the proper thing segment. These are the picks that should be in your team now and going forward, as these are the centerpieces for FPL. And last week in the defensive position, we had Kieran Trippier, one of our few misses last week. It was a horrible day for the Newcastle skipper and the Newcastle defense on the whole, as he looked a bit jaded versus Wolverhampton. Neto and Wang were looking very good, and Trippier just put up a big old goose egg, conceded 2 goals and a yellow card. No attacking returns either, so it was a disappointing game week for all Trippier owners, especially with his hefty price tag. And this week, though, we shift gears, as Trippier was our defensive proper things pick for the last 2 game weeks. And this week's defensive proper things pick is cash money in the bank in Matty Cash, who survived the wiping out of the clean sheet from Luton Town versus Aston Villa, as he was substituted before Luton found their goal, and rejoicing all cash owners. This week he has an equally impressive or beneficial game versus Nottingham Forest. I believe Matty Cash and Aston Villa will keep a clean sheet in this game, should bank 6 points, and he has an unbelievable chance to get attacking returns, as although he's listed as a defender in the game, he plays more advanced for Unai Emery's Aston Villa, and I believe the big haul is coming this week. So get on Matty Cash this week before it's too late. He comes in at a $5.2 million price tag, but I think he's worth every penny, especially right now with Forest this week and then Fulham coming to town the following week before the international break. So Matty Cash is your proper things defender pick for game week 11. In midfield, last week and the week before, we had Mo Salah, and Mo Salah, as some would say, just continues his impressive run in FPL this season. He was a little bit fortunate to be gifted the goal from Matt Turner versus Forest last game week, but you know, we take those in FPL every week. And this week he has a fixture versus Luton Town. So Mo Salah again for the 3rd week in a row will be your proper things midfielder pick. I don't know what much could be said about the king of FPL. He's been on real roll for the last few game weeks, a purple patch causing carnage left, right and center. I expect another big performance from the Egyptian king and the Liverpool right winger. So get Mo Salah in if you don't have him. I like him now and going forward. Comes in at a whopping 12.8 million, but definitely has to be in your team now and going forward. So Mo Salah is your proper things midfielder pick. And finally, in attack of the forward position, last week we had the king of the city, the most informed striker in the game, and Ollie Watkins, who unfortunately missed a big chance, had a huge XG of 1.21, but he could not return for Aston Villa. You know, a disappointing 2 points in that one. And this week, surprise, surprise, well, there was a debate on whether to sell this guy or was he worth his price tag in the hot take debate last game week. Well, he surely answered that with 2 goals, an assist, and 3 bonus points in a massive haul versus Manchester United. If you don't know him by now, it's the robot, it's Big Erling Haaland as your proper things forward pick for game week 11, coming in at 14 mil. You know, last season's Golden Boot winner returned to form versus Manchester United, again with an impressive 16-point haul. And this week he comes up against the Cherries of Bournemouth. And Manchester City, like we all know, shift gears come November as the early wobbles seem to be things of the past. I expect nothing different this upcoming game week. Erling Haaland is one of the most prolific strikers we've ever seen in the modern era, and he plays for a team that will provide him those chances. So if you don't have Erling Haaland, you may have to go without him unless you're willing to take hits, but I would recommend you try to get the big Norwegian back in as soon as possible. So your forward proper things pick again for game week 11 is Erling Haaland. And now we move into one of my favorite segments, the Needle Movers segment. This is the segment for the aggressive players who are looking to rise their rank immediately. And these picks could help you get those green arrows in immediately. Last game week in the defensive position, we had 2 picks. We had Matty Cash and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Unfortunately, neither could get an attacking return for owners, but they both banked clean sheets. Cash coming off just before Aston Villa conceded to bank 6 points. Trent unfortunately got a yellow, but returned 5 points. So 6 points and 5 points for the 2 needle mover defender picks for last game week. This game week in the needle movers defenders position, we have one of my favorite players in the entire league. He comes off an injury early on this season, but he seems to be returning to peak form, and that is the one, the only Johnny Stones of Manchester City, coming in at 5.3 million. I know City have struggled to keep clean sheets this season, conceding the odd goal, the drip goal as it is say, just to wipe out the defensive returns. But the play Bournemouth this game week won, and although John Stones is listed as a defender, we all know he plays that inverted CDM next to Rodri in midfield. And he seems to be coming back to his best. I expect him to have a big performance versus Bournemouth. I expect Manchester City to keep the clean sheet and John Stones to get an assist this game week. So, and possibly a bonus point. So I expect a double figure return, double figure haul from the Manchester City defender this game week. So John Stones, your needle mover defender pick for game week 11. In midfield, last game week, we put an asterisk next to this pick in Gabriel Martinelli, as Arsenal was playing in Europe at the time of recording. I said that I needed to see the Arsenal assets come out of the game without an injury. Unfortunately, Gabi Jesus could not make it out the game and play last game week, and it looks like he will be missing game week 11 and possibly game week 12, maybe back after the international break. So that led Martinelli to unfortunately only returning 3 points for his owners. As Arsenal won that one 5-0, Martinelli just could not find a return. And this game week, we have a guy who is coming off a big performance in game week 10. And normally I don't like to chase points, as I believe when you bring in a guy, you don't get the points from the past game week and you have to get the points going forward. But Diaby has proven to be one of those assets this season that finds himself at the business end of the Aston Villa chances. And Aston Villa, again, is one of the hottest teams in the Premier League goal scoring wise. They also have Ollie Watkins. So for the Ollie Watkins owners, this could be one of the stacks that you won this game week with Watkins and Diaby. And for the non-Watkins owners, this might be an opportunity to cover the impending points from Big Ollie. So DRB coming in at 6.8 million at the current price tag is your needle movers midfielder pick for this upcoming game week. Again, a premium game versus Nottingham Forest this game week. And finally, in the attacking position, in the needle movers segment, we had two picks for you all. We had La Pantera and Darwin Núñez, a budget option in Dom Solanke if you couldn't or you just needed to bring in a budget striker to facilitate other transfers. As I highlighted, La Pantera was on hot form for Uruguay during the international break, and he did return an assist in game week 9. In game week 10, he assisted and he scored and returned 10 points for his owners. So a home run there with that pick. Unfortunately, the budget pick in Dom Solanke could only muster 2 points, as you know, it was tough sledding for Bournemouth and Dom Solanke in that one. But this game week, if it's nice, you do it twice. Unfortunately, we are aware of the unfortunate circumstances regarding Luis Diaz and his family. We wish Luis Diaz and the Diaz family all the best, and that all his family members are safely returned. But because of his absence, I think Darwin Núñez is all but guaranteed another start this upcoming game week, especially with his fine form and returns. And versus Luton Town, I back the Uruguayan hitman to return yet another haul for his owners. So Darwin Núñez returns in game week 11 as your needle movers forward pick. So that was the needle movers picks for this game week. I know a lot of people will be looking to bring in these assets to help rise their ranks. And now we shift gears from the needle mover segment into the spilt milk segment. This is where we highlight the assets that should not be anywhere near your fantasy team, and if they are in your team, you should be looking to get rid of them immediately, as they have become net negatives. And oh boy, those assets have become funky. We kicked things off last week with the Spellman defender pick in Sven Botman. We knew Sven will not be playing last game week or even before the international break, as Eddie Howe reported he expected the Dutchman to return after the international break. But breaking news today seems to say now that Botman has unfortunately had a setback in his recovery, and it may take an even bit longer for him to return. So good luck to Sven getting back onto the field, and unfortunately, of course, he returned 0 points because he was not able to play. In this game week, Spilt Milk defender pick is a guy every game week one manager will remember, in Gabriel of Arsenal, coming in at 4.8 million. And Arsenal do have a tough game versus Newcastle this game week, but then a friendlier schedule going forward. So you may wonder why Gabriel is a spilt milk asset this game week. Well, Gabriel is one of those assets that unfortunately the manager seems to lean against when they have favorable matchups and selects the more ball playing centre backs, as we saw Kirill getting the start versus Sheffield this game week, and with the easier games or the more friendlier games upcoming in the schedule for Arsenal, and of course they being in Europe and the Carabao Cup games, I expect Gabriel to be rotated out in some of those games you expect him to play and get those clean sheets. And I don't like or favor assets where every morning you have to get up and check the lineup and hopefully you see your guy playing. And Gabriel seems to be the guy that misses again those favorable games. So if you do have Gabriel and you could switch him out for another asset that is more locked on with favorable games, like Cash if you don't have him, or even John Stones this game week if you want to take a punt, I would recommend moving away from Gabriel. In the Spilt Milk midfielders pick last game week, we had Marcus Rashford, one of my favorite players in all of football. I unfortunately had to put Rashford there, and it hurt me a little bit, but Rashford has not been feeding the kids at all, not even a drip feed. He's been starving You know, all the kids, all his owners, and just frustrating the fantasy community on the whole and Manchester United fans as well. And against my team, we held them against another blank, 2 points from the Englishman. Another bad performance out there. Things are looking up for United with the schedule of Fulham and Luton on the horizon as well, but I can't really trust Rachel, and that showed in the pick last game week. And this game week is a guy who has been one of the hottest assets in the game in Pedro Neto, but unfortunately he got injured versus Newcastle this last game week. At 5.8 million, he was a budget enabler for the more expensive FPL assets. Unfortunately, now I know the community and especially the Neto owners will have to scramble for a replacement as the injury seems to rule Neto out for multiple weeks. At 5.8, you may have to pay a little more to get a direct replacement, maybe Diaby, or you could look at Gordon, who comes in as well at 5.8 if you don't have the extra budget. But Pedro Neto will have to leave your team as he will not be contributing until after the international break. So we'll have to wait to see exactly when his return date is from the injury. But Pedro Neto, because of injury, has to be a spilt milk pick for game week 11, sorry. And finally, last week's spilt milk forward pick was Rasmus Højlund. You know, Rashford and Højlund, two guys I had earlier in the season. Højlund again could not find his first Premier League goal, blanked against City, returned 2 points, and the struggle continues. Each on 007 in the Premier League, I'm hearing. So the Danish forward officially joins the 007 club. So Rasmus Højlund was your spilt milk forward pick last game week. And this game week, again, game week 1 managers will remember this guy. He was touted and budget enable at 5.5 then in João Pedro. When João Pedro, again playing for Brighton, has a favourable schedule, but you never know when Pedro will be nailed on for the start, as Robert De Zerbi loves to play his version of Pep Roulette. And again, he missed out in game week 10, did not get a start and blanked coming off the bench. Brighton have not seemed to be at their best the last couple game weeks as they have been misfiring. And João Pedro, unfortunately, due to his irregular starts, I cannot recommend or keep this guy in the team going forward, as Evan Ferguson and him seems to be sharing the snaps up top. So if you're a João Pedro owner, you may want to pivot away to another asset. So João Pedro again is your spilled milk forward pick for game week 11. And now that we have covered the spilled milk segment and we're throwing away those funky assets, we move on to the wondering pick segment. These are the assets you should be keeping a keen eye on this game week and possibly bring them in the upcoming game weeks. This last game week, I recommended in the defensive position to keep a keen eye on Diego Dalot of Manchester United. He returned a nice 8 points in game week 9 as he scored a fantastic goal in that one, in the 2-1 win in game week 9. Game week 10, however, did not look good at all for Manchester United's defense as they got put to the sword by Erling Haaland, and Dalot could only return 2 points. So more favourable fixtures coming from Manchester United, but the defense does not look to be in good stead going forward. And this game week, we are keeping an eye on Kieran Trippier of Newcastle, coming in at 7 million at the time of recording. It's funny how one game week could change the entire narrative on an asset. He was the proper things defender pick for 2 game weeks and one bad performance versus Wolves, resulting in a goose egg. And now there are talks about Trippier not being worth his price tag. Well, they do have a tough game versus Arsenal this game week, but more pressing for me, I want to see the energy levels of Newcastle's defense, as against Wolverhampton, they looked very jaded, they looked tired, and Trippier on the whole was having a stinker. As Neto was giving him the work, he made some missed passes there in midfield, giving the ball away, and on the whole, just looked very tired. So, a game against Arsenal this game week, I still have him in my team and like him as an asset going forward. Of course, again, Arsenal this game week, but Bournemouth the following game week. But I have to keep a keen eye on him because at 7 mil, you have to be able to be hitting the heights that he's hit the past game week. So, Kieran Trippier is your wondering defender pick for game week 11. In the midfielder wondering pick last week, we had Cole Palmer. He returned 2 points for Chelsea as they lost 2-0 to Brentford. Unfortunately, though, for the Palmer owners, he did return an XGI of 1. And he looked to be in good form versus Brentford. Unfortunately, Chelsea blanked and lost again to the Honeybees. So, Palmer coming in at 5 mil could be a good enabler or even a replacement for Neto if you are looking for budget to be able to make another move. So, Cole Palmer, I liked what I saw in game week 10. Unfortunately, he didn't return. So, that was your wondering midfielder pick last game week. This game week, we have a guy who I actually like this game week, but his team and himself have not been playing well in the league, and that's one Bruno Fernandes, the Manchester United skipper, coming in at 8.3 million. Bruno Fernandes this week, I believe, could return points versus Fulham, but the problem I have with recommending Bruno and Manchester United assets at the time of recording is that United have not been playing good football. They seem to be lacking a true identity as Bruno has shifted from a midfield starlet onto a right winger of late. He had a game where he was playing the CDM role, and it just seems a mess right now in the red side of Manchester. However, we know Bruno is locked on penalties, and if United are to get a big performance, Bruno should be at the heart of it, as he's been quite unlucky this season, hitting the post on numerous occasions, but can't recommend him further than the wondering pick for game week 11. So Bruno Fernandes is your wondering midfielder pick this game week. And finally, in the forward wondering pick of last game week, we had two guys. First, we had Cunha, the budget option from Wolves. We saw that the main men down there were Neto, who unfortunately is injured, and Wang, who scored, but with Neto being out for at least the next 2 game weeks, I cannot see many owners moving for Cunha. And finally, the next guy we had there was Big Erling Haaland. There were a lot of questions surrounding the ghost of Manchester, as he was named, the last few game weeks. And he did answer the critics and returned a massive 16 points, 2 goals, assists, and 3 bonuses. And the rush to get Erling back into the team for his sellers has begun, as we've seen about 50,000 owners bringing the big Norwegian back into their team. Well, this game week, we have to keep a keen eye on the guy who scored a hat-trick last game week in Eddie Nketiah, coming in at 5.5 million for Arsenal. When you score a hat-trick, there has to be something going well with your game, because it's not easy to score any hat-tricks in the Premier League. Tough game versus Newcastle this week, so I can't recommend him any further than the wondering pick. However, if he does put on a big performance versus the Toons in a tough game, he may be in a more favourable category next game week, a more favourable section next game week, as I believe they play Burnley. So, Eddie Nketiah is your wondering forward pick for game week 11. And that concludes the proper things segment for this game week. I know a lot of people will be agreeing with the picks, and some will say, nah, Mike lost the plot here and he's seeing it like a dot right now, and I can't really agree with some of those picks. But we move nonetheless, and we continue the stellar record. And I would love to hear from everyone in the comment section. So if you agree or you disagree, the good, the bad, or the ugly, you could put it down there in the comment section. And while you're there, you could like the video And if you're not subscribed, what you waited for? You could, just click the subscription button. So again, I had fun bringing the Proper Things segment this game week. The picks have been picking. We have a stellar record, and looking forward to the games this game week. And now that you're finished subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment on the video, we move on from the Proper Things segment into the Hot Take segment, or question that needs to be answered by the fantasy community. And this question comes out from one of the viewers, and it simply reads, early transfers, yay or nay? And has this season changed things? Well, in past seasons, there's an unsung rule that you don't make early transfers. And that rule has been put in place because a lot can happen between the end of one game week and the start of the upcoming game week, as training and personal lives of players could lead to injuries or suspensions. You never know, and there's always the opportunity for you to learn more during the week on a player's availability for the upcoming fixtures. And that has always been beneficial to every owner, as you don't want to make a transfer early and then during the week you hear he picked up a little knock or niggle, or he will not be able to play the upcoming game because of personal issues, and you say, way boy, I had to take a -4 now to correct that transfer I made. Well, this season I have kind of changed my perspective a little, and I've led towards, yes, you may need to make early transfers, as there is a game within the game this season, as price rises have been absurd this season. Absolutely absurd. I mean, sometimes you see players rising 0.2 in one game week and dropping 0.1. So if you're on the wrong side of those price rises and drops, you could find a 0.3 million swing on a certain player and being priced out of the move later on in the week that you're sure you want to make that game week. As we've seen Son and Trippier and these Proper Things picks or assets rise from 6.5 now to 7 in case of Trippier. Son is approaching 9.7 after starting at 9, and Watkins has moved from his 8 million start point now to 8.4 million. I mean, the price rises have been absolutely ridiculous this season. There's a lot of knee jerking going on, and it could be priced out of moves. So if you are certain on making a transfer for a certain player and you know this is the guy you want in your team, you need to have him, whether it be to stop the bleed or be a guy you think is going to absolutely go nuclear and get a lot of points this upcoming game week, and you have exact funds, bare money, no extra change to do the move, then I believe this season might be the season you have to change your perspective of avoiding early transfers to leaning towards, you know what, I just need to get this guy in now as I can't get him in, and you make that early transfer. So for me this season, I'll go from no early transfers to yes, you need to make those early transfers, but with a caveat of if you have bare money to do it, I believe that you should do it because you don't want to be on the wrong side of those price rises. So I hope that helps the fantasy community with the question, especially our viewer who wanted to know if the price rises or if the early transfers, are beneficial this season, yay or nay. So for me, again, it's a yay because of the absurd price rises and drops we've been seeing this season. And finally, we move into the segment that has the most banter. It is the rowdiest group chat I've ever been a part of. There always seems to be a topic daily in this group chat. It's the race for the 10K. Like I said in the introduction, we have a new league leader. And this guy seems to be one of the favorites, the champion-elect according to the group chat, and he finally showed his cards and took the lead this game week. So without further ado, the new league leader is Week 12 by Andre Roberts. I've seen his name again a lot in the group chat, with a 65-point game week and now with a 674-point total on the season. And congrats to Andre finally making his move to the top of the table here. And if we take a quick look at what Andre did this week, we could see was Ariola in goal, Simicas, Sufal, Lascelles, Son Bowen, Captain Salah, Martinelli, Neto, Holland and Watkins. So a 65-point return, enough to catapult him to the top of the standings here in the TT FPL Pro-League, and the favorite right now to land the 10k come the end of the season. So congrats again to Andre Roberts. In second position, we have Lion King by Simba La Fortune climbing the table as well with a big 79 points and 672 on the season. Quick look at what the Lion King has been mauling this last game week. And again, it's Ariola in goal, Cass, Simicas, Boone, Salah, Son, Madison, Diaby, a nice pick there. The City forwards in Holland and Alvarez, with Watkins being the vice captain this last game week. So a 79-point game week from Lion King by Simba La Fortune, catapulting him into second place, and tied with the former league leader in Brandon Will by Brandon. You know what? A not so nice game week with 59 points. A quick look showing that he did not have Holland in his team this game week, so he got stung there by the new squad, the big Ulina, punishing one of his non-owners here. 59 points again to Brandon Will. Seeing him tied for second, but slipping currently here to third in the table, tied with Simba La Fortune on 672 points. The Duck saw a green arrow with 82 points, climbing up to fourth. So Dr. Phil Foden by Capel climbing back to fourth, and Jeff Ramdas unfortunately falling to fifth, but still in the top 5 with 665 points. The top 10 is rounded out by everyone. Loves Afati, Pelican Bay, Pamela Cos there, doing the work there in 7th. Stefan and Sky Saw Redemption, Trent Pool by Andreas, and Mark My Words by Mark again, rounding out the top 10. So congrats to the top 10, congrats to all those who are doing well, and a special congrats there to Andre Roberts, who is atop the table. We move through mid-table, we see the creator of the TT FPL Pro-League, Ezra Ramdeen, suffering a red arrow unfortunately, falling to 38 in the table. If we take a look at me, you see little green there on the screenshot from my phone there. Just getting a small red this week, has took a few hits this game week, fall to 77. Quick look at my team this game week. We played short, we played with 10 as Odogi, did not answer the call. We got Salah in this game week. Fortunately, Matoma and Watkins Gordon didn't return. So 65 points, but I had to repay a hit, so small red arrow, but we'd still move. Looking for a brighter week this game week. Look at the tail end here, my boys. Espaddy and Javon Simon and Chopper FC, Young Tools, Universe Boss. And I'm back with Gaza City and Chapo FC. Lining with me at the tail end of things, just can't seem to get out of the fog right now, but we're expecting a turn at some point. At some point, it might get a little worse here before it gets better, but we got caught holding the bag with Rasmus and Rashford earlier in the season, and that cotton bag bite us now. We just can't seem to get right. I don't know how, but don't worry. At the end of the season, we're expecting big returns here. So that was the update on the race for the 10k. But with the league moving to a new month in November, we had an October Manager of the Month winner. So if we look at the big reveal for the October Manager of the Month of 2023, we have to give it to Wellington FC, managed by the one, the only Anson Wellington. Massive game week, 84 points this game week and 248 points in the month of October for one Anson Wellington. So Wellington FC clinching the Manager of the Month award for October. I know Ezra has a trophy to hand out and the award to give out to Anson. So congratulations to Anson. Again, big month. We want to see if you could be the first manager to repeat in November as the November race starts in game week 11. And taking a look at the top 3 for the last month. After the winner Anson in second, we have my namesake, Dexter Solomon and Phantom 11. A big game week there as well, 90 points, 242 on the season, missing out by 6 points for the Manager of the Month. So Dexter, congratulations on a big month as well. And Sabos lads by FPL Trini, 80 points this game week, 241 on the season, rounding out the top 3 for October 2023. So we see that the competition real stiff and exciting here in the TT FPL Pro-League 2023-24. Thank you for supporting the league to all the contestants, all the managers out there, and we looking forward to even more exciting month this month. So that brings us to the end of episode 14 of Proper Things. Again, congratulations to Anson, the Manager of the Month for October, the new league leader in Andre. Big performances by big players. I want to thank all the viewers again for tuning into the entire episode. We appreciate the support. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, to leave a comment, the good, the bad, or the ugly, and to give us a subscribe if you're not subscribed and you're viewing the content. We dedicated to bringing the Proper Things episode every game week for you all. I will be here next game week to see how things went down, expecting it to be an exciting game week again this game week. So with all things being said, just remember to do proper things in all walks of life. And I'll be seeing you all next week. Goodbye.